part of the self-righteous cerebral narcissist, but it's like, look at me and look at how holy I am. I am holier than thou, right? And then what happens is you can see with the virtual signaling of the self-righteous cerebral narcissist how emotional immaturity plays a role. It plays a definite role in the self-righteous cerebral narcissist. All forms of narcissism and personality disorders have that arrested development / emotional immaturity, right? With that spectrum that they're on, right? And so you see the emotional immaturity rather of virtue signaling because some of the logic that they are using doesn't make sense. Like you had the Pharisees walking around with these phylacteries, which were prayer boxes hanging from their wrists or hanging from their head. Think about how foolish that is. And they thought the bigger the prayer box, right, that was hanging from their wrists, the holier they were. That's just like having a long dress or a long skirt, and you thinking the longer it is, the holier you are, right? That's virtual signaling. Look at me. And then they would make a point of basically that was their way, indirect and / unspoken way of saying, look at me. Look at what I got on. Look at how long my skirt is, right? Look at how long my robe is. Look at how big my phylactery is with my Bible verses in there. But they had to be ridiculous. You got this wrapped around your head, a prayer box, right? Think about if we walked around with Bibles hanging from our heads, barely able to carry the weight, or hanging from our necks, these great big old Bibles, and thinking the bigger your Bible is, the holier you are. That's where the emotional immaturity and the lack of understanding come into play. But a lot of times we get so caught up with these individuals. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, like a nut. And we're not really thinking, this doesn't make sense. So the bigger the Bible or the smaller the car, that means you're holier because you don't have a bigger car, or because you got an economy car and you didn't get a luxury car, that makes you holier. But when it comes to bing, 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 ricochet rabbit of the virtue signaling, it's like they're telling you, you need to take notes on this. This is important. Pay attention to this. That's what the virtue signaling is about. When you encounter a self-righteous narcissist, pay attention to the virtue signaling, right? And it's going to be like, you should be taking notes on this. That's the unspoken. You should be shopping at this grocery store. You should be driving this kind of car. You should be using your vacation days, cashing them in and using that to buy Christmas gifts, and restricting, even though you have the money, restricting yourself so it can make it look like you're so holy, right? Basically what the Pharisees were doing. As Jesus were talking to his disciples and telling the Pharisees, like, you woe to you, you hypocrites. You are tithing on dill and mint and cumin, right? Tithing on all of these different things. He said, you straining out a gnat